Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Hope and the Truth. Merry Christmas. With me today, Billy Calabrese. Welcome back. Welcome back. We had a little interview last time, and we're going to have the full interview this time. As always, we are here to renew hope and strengthen our faith in the Lord. So let's jump right in. Thank you for coming back.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You've quite an interesting story. So let's start at the beginning. I know you. How many months now? A few months?
About maybe a year.
Has it been a year? I don't know where time's going. It's loose.
Yeah.
When we started talking, what was going on with you? What were you suffering from?
Well, I was diagnosed with hepatocellular carcinoma, which is a liver cancer. So, if you don't listen to the voodoo man, you'll be dead in 4 months. Mm-hmm. Then I had a couple tumors on top of that. I had diabetes, which was as high as 600, which you should be dead before it hit that. God, I don't know what all else. The people at the cancer center, the most depressing place in the world, they told me I had possible brain cancer, of course the liver cancer, what do you call it, cancer in your bones, bone marrow cancer. She had me like every kind of cancer you could have, plus these other maladies.
Yeah.
And, of course they suggested all their treatments. Well, we're going to send you over to this guy and probably start the chemo or radiation, going to need surgery. I said, well, who's the guy you're going to send me to? Oh, very good doctor. I said, well, how well do you know him? Well, I've been using him for 15 years. I said, well, what's his batting average? She looked at me puzzled. I said, well, how many of the people you sent there have been healed? And how many of them died? She said, I don't know. I said, well, you're going to send me over there and you don't know?
Right. It's kind of reassuring.
I look stupid.
Yeah.
I'm really not.
Yeah. And I think that's a basic question to someone when they go to a healthcare practitioner. Not that they want to reveal their statistics, but it's kind of like, look, you're looking for hope. And with the information you were getting before that, it's kind of not that it's hopeful.
Show me one that was healed.
No, well, they can't do that.
Just one.
They can't do that. But it's interesting because you had such a myriad of things going on, besides the cancer, diabetes, cirrhosis, all of these things, which is kind of interesting to treat, because pharmaceutically, they really can't, because one thing will affect something else. So it's kind of like a puzzle. Whenever I see doctors, they go, here's a case, do that, and they can't, because they wouldn't know where to start, because everything that they're going to give you is going to get processed by the liver and the kidneys. So where do you go from that point? So we meet each other at that point. You come in. How long did it take before we started seeing, I don't know, change?
2 days.
Yeah, that's a long time.
The first day, I felt something hit me, but I wasn't sure. My legs were kind of weak. I hadn't been walking, so forth. And then the next day, I talked to you. I was out trying to lift my weights.
Yeah.
Something, things were changing in my mind. I was getting better rest. And then third day, better. Fourth day, better. By the end of the week, I knew something going on, and it's very positive. And I was staying in faith, believing in Jesus, claiming my healing by his side, like he promised. And I had a dream. I was laying there, and like this green light came around my whole body and told me that I was going to be healed. Don't worry about it. Just,
I told you not to worry.
Do what I'm doing.
Billy calls me and was like, I'm not sure if I'm getting better. Like, what did you do today? I'm out working out. Like, you didn't realize you came and you couldn't walk, right? He's like, well, I guess that's a comparison. I only did 5 push-ups, not one. But it's funny because we don't, and that's a dramatic change over a very short period of time. So it's kind of, what did the doctors say? What did people say? Because I know, like I said, we talked.
Oh, everyone was, they were amazed. Like,
No.
They wanted to know more. And many of the people that I talked to knew someone that was sick, and that became my mission. Tell them about the medicine. Tell them put some the main ingredient, Jesus, in with it.
Yep.
And things are going to happen for you.
And that's what's the problem. When Billy came to us, we consulted for him. We were talking about cannabis oil and God combined, not one versus the other. And it's interesting, there's so many misconceptions. When people go, well, I'm not supposed to use this and that. And then you start to be able to provide them a lot of examples of people that are getting better. And they go, wait a minute, does this actually work? And it's like, well, the plant, God, the plant's here, we respond to plants, we have an endocannabinoid system, that's what feeds on plant matter. And you start seeing things, because by all of their data that they gave you, you shouldn't be here.
Well, plus they weren't going to attack the problem, which is the cannabinoid system and which is the neuroreceptors. They're going to just like bomb the area that's sick and don't worry, it won't hurt anything else. You know, it won't be any collateral damage. How preposterous is that? You know, I'm not that stupid. And I saw the people in the cancer center. It was the most hopelessness I ever saw, except for films of Auschwitz. I mean, everybody in there is like, has no hope.
It's a very depressing environment, and people don't realize when you've gone to that, you see it firsthand. Because I think some people, they don't know what goes on if they haven't experienced cancer, but at this point, now that 1 in 2 people have it, that's becoming more of a reality where everyone's getting touched by it and somehow they're personally or somehow they know. And now they're saying, well, wait a minute, we got a problem here. Because how is medicine and technology so great, and that's skyrocketing with cancer? That's the thing that no one ever wants to talk about. It's like they're telling me about this, that, and the other thing, and I go, well, first of all, you still can't say what causes it, and you don't know how to cure it. So how are you treating it? And that's the key thing when you actually talk to people that have gone through something, and that's why to be like a patient advocate, it's great because people can talk to you. You're like, I'm not throwing stuff out there. I'm going through it. Rather than someone who said, well, you should do this. Have you ever had cancer? Nope. Then why am I talking to you? That's what changes that dynamic.
And then the lifestyle, you know, the poison food, the GMOs, the poison water, the poison air. I mean, we need an antidote.
Yeah.
We don't just need somebody to try to fry a couple tumors and hope for the best. We need an antidote, and the antidote is something the Lord put here, which is this plant. The herb-building seed be meat. It is our meat. I mean, I can live off of this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the solution. That's the word I'm spreading. I mean, Lance put me on a mission. He saved my life, him and his partner, Adam Steinberg, and you know, I want to help other people. I want to save other people's lives. God gave me this life back so I could straighten out all the stuff that I did wrong in the past. Maybe I got, like, you know, at least I brought somebody to it. You know?
Well, you do a lot of good. I mean, you're out there, you know, helping people. You want to keep on preaching the good word, and then on top of that, giving people hope. Because I think that's the main thing, is giving people hope. You know, it doesn't matter what someone's diagnosed. When someone comes in and we talk, and you know this firsthand, the first thing that's taken away is your hope. You're told what's going to happen. Like, well, you don't know what's going to happen, doctor. How did I get to this point to begin with? Because how long were you going through the medical system before? Give us a little background of like
well, you know, I never did like going to doctors. You know, my grandma used to call them croakers. You know, she was the doctor.
Yeah.
And finally, with the diabetes, I got rushed to the hospital when I went to 600. You know, and I had to go to the doctor to get insulin to try to control it, which it didn't. I was doing double shots just getting the 200s and stuff.
Wow.
But about 2 years, and in that time, this cancer developed, you know, and so forth. I mean, not only did they not help me, they essentially tried to kill me. You know, there was not much left to do. And then I started hearing about the medicine and reading about it, studying it on the computer. And I saw Rick Simpson got 5,000 cases of cancer that he cured and so on. I said, man, I got to try this. So then I started chasing the medicine, trying to find it. I got some stuff that was like, I don't know, you know, pharmaceutically made, claimed to be CBD. It was nothing. And then a gentleman put me in touch with you guys, and you know, my whole life has been changed. I was resurrected. I was dead walking around. You know.
So with this second chance, how's it changed your outlook on life? Because really, it is like a second, like a rebirth.
It's changed it completely because, you know, I was a realtor. I was making good money, so forth. And then when I got ill, I lost everything, sold everything I had, lived off of it for a while. Cars, motorcycles, but anyhow, by the time all that ran out, and I was like, you know, total hopelessness. Then I tried to find a way to get out of this. I got to get healthy again. I got a couple boys I got to take care of and so forth. Some animals.
The animals are important too. I know. I've got 4 kids. I get it.
And you know, I just got this blessing. I got the information. It worked. People that had seen me sick and been around me, and they couldn't believe it. What's this transformation? What happened? You know. And, you know, I'm no spring chicken. I mean, I came back better than ever. I haven't felt this good in probably 20 years.
Yeah, that's saying something.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm just grateful, you know, that I had the hope to give me the faith, and then meeting you, all the help you've given me, I mean, just inspired me more. And now I just want to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I want to save people's lives and make them better, bring them to Christ. Because this is a spiritual battle.
Absolutely.
This is powers and principalities. And when death was laughing at me, beat me up, I didn't call in the reinforcements yet. When I finally did, call in Jesus and his angels, man, the devil flees just like he's supposed to. And everything but blessing since.
And it's interesting because that's your testimony. When you go through a trial, people, they never want to go through anything bad. When you go through something tough, it puts everything into perspective because you go, oh, people never get that. They go, well, no, everything's going to be fine. I'm not saying everything's not going to be fine, but you're going to go through some stuff because how else are you going to recognize that you have to change when you're in a carnival? If you're having fun, you don't want to change. When something bad happens and you see another side of reality, you go, well, wait a minute. This is what's going on because your mortality is brought before you. And you go, whoa, I'm more fragile than I thought I was. Right. And I can't get through this without Jesus. Right. And you see it real quick. I mean, that's the key thing. I mean, having seen a lot in the medical industry and dealing with a lot of people, when you're at that point, because people just talk about it, you see it on TV, it doesn't seem like it's going to touch you until it does. And then it becomes all too real. We see the doctors. When a doctor gets sick, it's like, what? It's like, well, what have you been practicing for 30 years? That's like they forget. They become desensitized. So when you're faced with it, then your whole life kind of, in a way, is put in front of you and you have decisions to make. And you say, what's my legacy going to be in this world that I've been dealing with? So it's a blessing.
Well, so many people want to think they're in some kind of spiritual neutral,
yeah.
Which means you're an open house for any kind of demon, sickness, whatever. If you're not going to fight the devil with God, you ain't got a shot. You ain't got a shot.
We can't do anything ourselves. But I mean, it's funny when people say, you don't understand this, I understand that. I go, look, if you understand health so well, don't get sick. Don't get sick. We don't. We have such a small understanding of anything. It's such a small percentage. I don't know anything. But that's the funny thing. You get humbled very, very quickly, and you realize I don't know anything because the stuff I knew it's the stuff of the world. Anytime we think we'd realize something, it's something else is revealed, and you're just saying, didn't know that. That's the interesting thing with science. It keeps on disproving itself. So at what point do you have fixed things where it's like, well, this is what well, then how come a day later this is changing?
Right.
We're going to get into the news today, too. But what is your goal for the future? What would you like at this point in your life to help people? How can people contact you, number one? Because I know we've talked about this. We're to be even a patient advocate. We're to talk to other people that are going through this and that you're relatable. Because, I mean, that's what having a degree that's great. But if you haven't gone through something, people are going to look at you like, you haven't gone through this. What am I talking to you about? But with someone who's going through something, you're like, look, I'm there to help people. I can give them hope and tell them the truth of what's happening. What is your goal? Your goal for the...
Well, pretty much the same as you, just what you taught me. I just want to save people's lives, bring them out of this miserable state. This cancer is a miserable thing. Yeah. And we got to realize that a lot of it's intentional. This cancer industry is probably one of the biggest money makers in the country. And, it's a shame that they'll let people suffer and cause them to suffer even more for money, for the love of money. And we got to get them off of that kick and get back into the spirit. Our body, our flesh, is not going to be here long. We're all dying. I'm not just dying, we're all dying. It's just a matter of when.
We have expiration dates. And this is like a sensory suit for us to experience this world. And people have a hard time, a lot of times the body's what controls everything. And that's why you see a coldness almost in the world where people have stopped seeing what's around them. It's just what they were experiencing. It's about me. And then you start to get more spiritually aware, like, I can help people. And that's the thing, is that, problems they're out there. I'm not going to deny that, but you can do something as an individual. If you help one person, you've changed a life. And I mean, look at, when you help someone, we don't realize how many people that person's going to help. But what they're going to do, it's an exponential effect as stuff starts to grow. So it's interesting to see that where people say, well, what can I do? It's like, you do a lot. If you change one person's mind and you help them, you've affected a world of people and really created a dramatic change. And I think that's the thing that people need to see, rather than saying, well, what can I do? It's like, you can do a ton of stuff. How can people get a hold of you? Phone number, email, we'll put it up there.
Well, the foundation, you can get a hold of me through the foundation.
Okay.
The foundation would be good. Or, phone number, 702-232-5716. Yeah. I'll always answer.
If you're going to leave crank call, make it good. At least give a good message.
Yeah.
Will you stay with me for the news? We're going to do the news you haven't heard about. I got some crazy stories. Because last time I was crazy. It's funny, because last time you were on the story that I did, this is kind of like a follow-up on that story. And then there's another story, which will be a surprise.
It's
So if
all
you stick
meant
with
to
me,
be.
it always is. Thank you, Billy, for coming by. We'll be right back, guys. Stay with us for the news you may not have heard about. Welcome back, everyone. Hope and the Truth with me, Billy Calabrese. Thank you for hanging around. This is one of the segments I like to call News You May Not Have Heard About. In these sections, I go a little off the rails. I go to crazy town, some people would say. Don't bring me to your barbecue, because I'll just tell you the truth. I've got two stories for you today. One was from a few weeks back about the fires that were going on in Tennessee. This was about a Dollywood employee, actually. He found a lone Bible page, while cleaning up after the fire. Now, what's interesting is a lot of times you'll hear in accidents of Bibles surviving and Bible pages. It was very interesting, the page that survived. And there's a picture of it. I'll try to put it on the site once we upload all this stuff and give you the news source so you can see it yourself. I'll give you a little background. As Dollywood employees cleaned up Tuesday after the close call with forest fires, one man says he found something many are finding inspiring in the midst of tragedy. Isaac McCord posted a page from a Bible he says was found under a bench in the park. It was badly burned, but still preserved some verses providing hope centuries after they were written. I'm going to read you the verses that were actually left behind. And it's from Joel. All right. Joel 1:15. These were the few ones that, everything else is burned. Just these few passages were left behind. Alas for the day of the Lord is at hand. And as a destruction from the Almighty shall it come. Is it not meat cut off before our eyes, yet joy and gladness from the house of our God? Next part was cut off, goes down to 18. How do the beasts groan? The herds of cattle are perplexed because they have no pasture. Yea, the flocks of sheep are made desolate. O Lord, to thee will I cry, for the fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness, and a flame hath burned all the trees of the field. The beasts of the field cry also unto thee, for the rivers of waters are dried up, and the fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness. And this was the one page and a few passages that were left in the fire in Tennessee. So this is very interesting because it talks about the day of the Lord, which is coming depending on who you ask. But I think it's interesting when you see some stories. A lot of times in car accidents, people will find Bibles. In fact, in the plane crash in Brazil, I believe it was Brazil? Yeah, I think it was Brazil. The one survivor had his Bible. He was clutching it when he crashed. They found him and the Bible in his hands, and he was actually saved. He was one of the few that actually survived that. What do you make of this story?
Well, the Lord wanted to tell him what's happening.
No.
He's always there, and he's always aware of all these things that are happening to us. And that's why we got to stay in touch with our spiritual side, because this meat don't know nothing.
No, we have no idea what's going on. And I think people are starting to say something's off. They might not know what exactly it is. Something feels weird. There's something in spirit that's kind of like unsettling. Even people that may not believe. Something's weird. Something's going on. You ask them, be like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the holidays. But something tends to be off. I'm getting this a lot when I talk to people, not just because I'm strange, but something's off. And people, they can notice almost a shift and a change, which actually kind of leads me to the next story that I'm going to do. Now, we talked about this when you were on last time, the different earthquakes, meteors striking the earth.
Right.
I'm going to get into this story. It's going to be very hard to look up, but you might be able to find things on what's known as waves of energy. Now, in 2004, a magnetar passed by our planet. All right, what's a magnetar? It's a pulse of energy, 55,000 light years away. It's a very interesting date when this happened. Leading up to the date, which was the 27th of December, which is when this went through. It didn't touch us, just went through. You had a substantial increase in earthquakes, 8s, 7s. The day before this passed by, there was a 9.1 earthquake in Sumatra. Now, most people won't remember that. What you will remember is the tsunami that happened after that, which was in Thailand, killed 250,000 people. Now, after this event, and yes, this was the cause of that, you had a UN climate summit start in 2005. They didn't tell people this. They're telling you because it's cow farts that's eating away the atmosphere. That's not the case. Fast forward now to 2016. It's December. It's December 22nd. Guess what's happening in 5 days? Second wave of energy. Now, don't start freaking out and thinking we're going to have tsunamis all over the place, but I will tell you what is going to happen. You're going to have a pulse of energy. Think of it as walking through a threshold, all right? A door that we can't go back through. If you've noticed, we've had a substantial increase in earthquakes. Now, this is not normal to me. Some people might think it's normal. You have, a few 8s, a few 7s happening in the past week, right? You had a few in Sumatra. What was the other one? Australia, Papua New Guinea.
6.5 in California.
Another one in Indonesia. This is in the last few days. The other things that are happening, and by the way, good luck looking this up online. A few other things that are happening. Why does this affect your life aside from weather changes? Well, this also increases gamma ray radiation that's coming into the planet. So if you've noticed things like spiking in cancer, that's why it's now 1 in 2. As even though technology is getting better, that seems to be going up. If you've noticed plant life starting to become burned, animals to be getting sick, you've noticed they've actually stopped talking about Fukushima. I find that interesting. They also reset Geiger counters for radiation, so it's actually downplaying it. Little things that people can see to know that I'm not completely off my rocker. Boil water. Start boiling water for the next week and track the timing, how long it takes to boil. Same amount, same thing. You'll start to notice it's going to change. What does that say? Atmospheric pressure's changing. So these are little things that are starting to happen in the environment. Why aren't they telling us about it? Well, I'll let you figure that out for yourself. There's one more thing that is actually happening. This ties into one of the other stories that I did a few months ago about the mass animal deaths that are happening on a daily basis. You have lots of fish that are coming up in the ocean, which is disturbing enough in itself. What you don't know is a lot of those fish that have been coming up are boiled. Now, how are fish coming out of the ocean boiled? It's because you have a volcanic, thing that's happening where the oceans are actually superheating. Now, this is starting to change. What else is going on? Sinkholes? You ever hear about sinkholes 10 years ago?
No.
I never did. You're starting to hear a lot of them. They started off as sewer grates, now they're the size of city blocks. And this is not because of pipes. I don't care how bad your pipes are. It's not happening all over the world at the same time. So when you start to look at the atmospheric and the environmental events, you start to see the celestial things that are starting to happen. So again, I'm not saying December 26th, you're like, what? Nothing happened. Lance is a lunatic. Start to notice the change in the environment, because when you have a better sense of why things are happening and where it's coming from, you're better prepared. And this is the key thing. If you base your foundation in a falsehood, you can never grow from that. That's the key thing. And I've always noticed this with the climate change debate. You have two schools of thought. Climate change is real, it's fake. Well, it's real, just not for the reason that you've been told.
Right.
That's a key thing. I don't care how many cows you have. It's also heating up on Mars. There's not cows there last time I checked. So these are the different things when you have a better source of where you're getting the information from. You start looking at things and go, well, something's not right here. Something's off. Anything you'd like to add to that besides that?
Well, they underrate the quakes too.
Yes.
They'll tell it's 6.5, it's really 7 or 6.8. And they that are in charge are not for us.
No.
They're not here to help us. They're here to read the Georgia Guidestones. They're here to reduce the population to 500,000. That includes me and you. We're not their favorites. We're not going to be living in the underground cities that they've built.
You didn't get that invite? I didn't get that.
So, we got to wake up, get together. This racism that they've invented. The Hebrews were dark people. You couldn't be white and be over there and survive. You'd be fried. Let's wake up. We're all one people, and let's act like it. And we got a government that's not acting in our favor. They've all become greedy, self-serving, and they're not for us. They spend trillions of dollars, and we got people sleeping in the streets. We got children starving. What's happening here?
Yeah.
Who's in charge? Obviously, it's Satan. When he was thrown out of heaven, he was given to rule here. So wake up.
Yeah. When you see what's going on, it's hard because, again, divide and conquer. It's a fairly common thing. It's still used today, and it's used successfully today, which is why if you look at people's differences, they'll never agree seeing the bigger problem. It's misdirection. When you work together, you can solve stuff in your community on a larger scale, but people don't see that. It becomes very much about me. And that's why you see little things that, people don't see what's happening. There's a conditioning effect that's gone on where I'll take this state, for example. If you're excited about a $750 million Raider stadium and you don't want to give $1 to a child that's starving in the street, I think the priorities are quite messed up. And this is one of the things that they never look at it that way. They go, start. Take a step back and see the big picture, not just what you're being told.
But why should you have to give a dime when this government, the gross product, this government is trillions of dollars? Everything could be satisfied.
But that's the thing. Because when you see that they're not going to change it, not because they can't, they don't want to. No. That's the problem. A lot of this stuff could be changed in a day. Think about that. When you just take a step, you're like, wait a minute, didn't they really feed? It makes more sense to throw out food because of a health concern than feed someone who has no food. That makes no logical sense to me. Well, they might get something. Well, I know what they're not going to get. They're not going to get food. That's the key thing. If you're not feeding someone, you're worrying about what? Giving them listeria? It's the most nonsensical logic, but people buy into it. No, grocery stores, they gotta throw that stuff out. You see what I'm saying? So people they go along with it because they're told stuff. I also heard cannabis doesn't do anything. So these are the key things when you start to look at the source of the information and where it's coming from, you can kind of reevaluate what's happening here.
And they've robbed us of history. That's why they want to drive everyone away from the Bible. The Bible will tell you a lot of things that are happening, going to happen, have happened.
That's prophecy. It's what God's going to do.
And they want us away from that. They want us to look at the new whatever, the watch that punches you in the face.
I didn't see that yet. I'm going to sign up for that.
I'm coming out with it.
I love it. I'll invest in that.
For non-believers.
I would have. Thank you for coming by. It's always a blessing.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I appreciate what you're doing.
Oh, please.
And you've done it for me. I mean, I'm a laboratory rat. I'm telling you, it works.
Yeah,
It'll
I'm just
work.
a messenger. I'm not testing on lab rats. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. As always, stay close to the Lord. We'll see you next time on Hope and the Truth. I'm Lance Parvin.